Teller coming your guys' way once again with another free play. We're wobbling in here. You guys know we're coming off a very tough loss as Junior Tafa takes the first round against Usman, almost gets that knockout as well as he finally breaks off the cage. In the latter two rounds, the takedown defense and the conditioning playing a factor in that fight. Tafa loses the fight fair and square, even though he gets up at the end of the third round and almost snatches that third round with the limited amount of damage he does, just based on the fact that Usman was doing absolutely nothing with those takedowns, just laying on top of Tafa, taking a nap. A little bit surprised we don't see any type of warnings from Mark Smith as well. I mean, we see some of these referees quick to stand fighters up or throw some type of warnings. I'm not one to complain about that. I mean, it's Tafa's fault to be down on his back in the first place, but absolutely no activity from Usman. What a boring and frustrating fight. But at the end of the day, we man up and we take credit for the loss there. So we're very hungry. We need a big win coming up here for the UFC Vegas 72 card, and that's what we're going to do. We're talking some main event action. We're talking Yadong Song and Ricky Simón here, two top 10 bantamweight fighters. Before we jump into this fight, please like this video, subscribe to the channel if you guys have not already. It means a lot to me, guys. If you're looking to sign up for a new sports book, reach out to me. I'll send you my referral link for Bovada.lv. I'll give you my entire slate for UFC Vegas 72, and you will have an added bonus added to your account as well. It's very easy to sign up, and in my opinion, it's the best sports book out there. All right, guys, let's jump into this main event.
Welcome to the show. This is the MMA fortune teller. Yeah.
The MMA fortune teller.
The teller.
So Song and Simón were supposed to be facing off on this past weekend's card at UFC Vegas 71, but when Renato Moicano had to pull out of his main event match with Arman Tsarukyan, the UFC had to shake some things up. They needed a new main event match, and I think what better fight to have snuck on this card as a main event matchup than Ricky Simón and Yadong Song. This fight has all the makings to be an absolute war and a very entertaining match. We take a look at the line movement over the past 2 weeks as we head over to Caesars Sportsbook, where we saw Ricky Simón open as a -140 favorite. Now, I thought this was interesting. Check this out. Just a few days later, on April 18th, we saw a good amount of movement go towards Yadong Song's way as Ricky Simón touched a +110 underdog line. He almost instantly jumps right back to a -135 favorite. And ever since that day, we've seen a very slight trend towards Yadong Song's way as Ricky Simón has now settled in as a -120 favorite. Right now this fight essentially almost a pick'em fight. Again, a very, very slight lean towards Ricky Simón at the -120 line. Now, for the most part, I do believe that this betting line has settled. This is a fight that has been being anticipated for the last 2 weeks or so. I think people have pretty much made up their mind which way they want to go with their money here. So I expect Ricky Simón to probably step into the octagon right around a -120 to a -125 favorite. Maybe the only way we see things shake up in a major way is if there's some big sharks tuning in to the Teller's free play coming your guys' way. But other than that, I think that we have seen this line pretty much stabilize. Now, how do these two men match up in the striking department? We know that Yadong Song is extremely technically sound. He's dangerous in all aspects of the art. He's dangerous with his hands, his elbows, his knees, his feet. He could do a little bit of it all. And not only is that the case, he's also lightning fast. He's about as quick twitched as it gets in the fight game, if you ask me. I think that there's no question he's a major threat to Ricky Simón on the feet. We've seen some recent growth in Ricky's striking, but it's not on the same level. We've seen Ricky work in the body as of recently. He has heavy hands. He's been working some heavy leg kicks as of recently as well. But again, he's not on the same level of a Yadong Song. And when you think back to the last time we really saw Ricky hurt on the feet, coincidentally, it was by Uriah Faber, who is now coaching Yadong Song. And when you think about that sloppy overhand right that Uriah landed on Ricky, you can only imagine that the technical striking of Yadong Song will pose a serious threat to Ricky Simón here. One thing to understand, even though we feel that Yadong Song is the much more technical striker and has an edge there, this is a mixed martial arts fight. It's not just a kickboxing match. Now, when you take into consideration the threat of Ricky Simón's wrestling, we know that type of threat will open up the striking of Ricky Simone's, based on the fact that Yadong Song has to constantly be worried about being taken down. And sometimes we've seen fighters, keep their hands a little low. It opens up that big shot on the feet. When you think about Khabib landing that big shot on Conor McGregor, that's one example there. But do also take that into consideration. Staying on the subject of Ricky Simone's wrestling and grappling, you need to understand that it's very high level. Ricky Simone has been implementing 6.5 takedowns per 15 minutes while fighting in the octagon. That's an extremely high number. You also have to take into consideration the men that he's been doing that against. He has taken down guys like Merab Dvalishvili, Montel Jackson, Jack Shore. We're talking about some serious grapplers here. Those men don't just step down in the octagon and typically get put on their back the way that Ricky Simone did to them. So understand that. Yadong Song has a 71% takedown defensive rate. That is a good number. But I think that you also need to understand that when you take a look at the resume of Yadong Song's, there's not really a lot of high caliber grapplers and wrestlers that he's faced off against. For the most part, he's been facing off against fellow strikers. Now, just to circle back to that striking advantage that Yadong Song does possess in this fight, Yadong Song landing 4.5 significant strikes per minute in the octagon compared to Ricky Simone's 3. Now, defensively, Yadong Song absorbing 4 significant strikes per minute, while Ricky Simone only absorbing 3 significant strikes. So Ricky, you could say, has shown to be a little bit better defensively, but when you add that formula together, you still have a half of a strike per minute advantage towards Yadong Song, sticking to that narrative of what you see when you watch film. Yadong Song does possess the advantage on the feet. This fight, a little bit of a striker versus grappling matchup here. Remember now, this is a 5-round main event matchup. These men could potentially be going to war for 25 minutes. So you know cardio is going to play a major factor in this fight. Ricky Simone, we've seen him go to war for 15 minutes, and he seems to get better as the fight goes. I mean, when you think about his match with Montel Jackson and Merab Dvalishvili, we talked about those fights earlier. I mean, Ricky really showed to have excellent cardio, and you could potentially argue that his cardio played a factor into to the point of him getting his hand raised, right? So I expect him to thrive in the 4th and 5th rounds in this fight. I think that he is a fighter that is built to go 25 minutes, so I'm really excited to see that. Now, I don't think that Yadong Song necessarily has bad cardio, but there's some fights where we have seen him slow down a bit. When you think about his fight against Marlon Chito Vera, I mean, he was taken down multiple times in the 3rd round with some lazy inside leg trips when they were in the clinch against the cage. Chito Vera, not really known for his grappling there, and still sneaking in some takedowns. That could be a little bit of a problem for Song. In the Corey Sandhagen fight, that fight ending after the 4th round, not to say that he necessarily slowed down in a major way, but you saw him kind of take a slight step back in his pace, and that was a fight that favored his style, right? We know that Corey Sandhagen is a striker. That fighting style of Corey's favored Yadong Song there. Ricky Simone will be closing the distance. He'll be leaning and wearing on Yadong Song from the moment the first bell rings, and I'm interested to see how the cardio of Yadong Song holds up in the 4th and 5th rounds. So let's cut to the chase. How do we see this fight taking place? I believe that the wrestling, the cardio, and the pressure of Ricky Simone will be the difference in this fight. Yes, Song will be very dangerous on the feet, especially early on, but I also like the development that we've seen from Ricky defensively. I think that he'll have that high shell guarding his dome. I think he avoids any significant danger there. And also do understand that when this fight goes to the later rounds, if we see Song breathing very heavily after defending the non-stop takedowns from Simone, don't be surprised if you see Ricky have a little bit of success on the feet. He possesses some serious power, and if they start to go to war on the feet, and if Simone's the fresher fighter, again, just don't be surprised if you see Simone have some late success on the feet here as well. Now, that being said, there's a fight that I want you guys to remember that took place relatively recently, and that was the Merab Dvalishvili versus Petr Yan fight. I think that this fight has the makings to be similar to that fight. Obviously saying that Simone implements similar tactics to what Merab did against Petr Yan, just not really letting him have the success with his striking and really just wearing him out. Okay, another thing I want you to take into consideration as well, I think this is very important. Ricky Simón is 30 years old. I think that that is the most prime number of a fighter's career. I think that that is as good as it gets. Ricky Simón has the perfect amount of professional fights. He hasn't taken too much damage. This is the biggest fight of his career. I say that he rises to the occasion. Song has a good amount of pro experience as well. He's been fighting since he's very young, but he's still only 25 years old as well. He's very young, and I think that man strength of Simón will come into play here. You guys, I am saying that Ricky Simón wins a unanimous decision here. I think that he at least takes 3 of the 5 rounds in this fight, potentially 4. And what are we throwing at the books? We're throwing a 5-unit play on Ricky. Caught him at -120. I love that line. I really believe that this line could have went the other way. I could have easily seen him settling in as a -145. And again, that's no disrespect towards Song's way. I understand that he is a very talented fighter, but stylistically, I like what I see here in this 25-minute fight. All right, so 5 units thrown on Ricky Simón. Grabbed it at -120. We got to cash this, boys. You guys know what time it is. I appreciate all your guys' support. Hit that like button on your way out. Subscribe to the channel if you guys have not already. Catch me on all my social media. I'm on IG, Twitter, all that scrolling below. I appreciate your guys' support so much. All right, guys. Hit me up with that support, and I promise you guys I'll keep pumping out more and more content to you guys. All right, guys. I'm going to leave you guys on that. Let's cash this, all right? Signing out. Teller.
Welcome to the show. This the MMA fortune teller. Yeah.
The MMA fortune teller.
The teller.